Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our forum discussion for today. First of all, I would like to thank to all the panel members for joining this forum discussion. Our topic that we will discuss for today is social media helping us to connect or contributing to loneliness. Without any further ado, I would like to call on our first panel for today, Dr. 𝒸𝓁𝒾𝓀𝓉, lecturer from to answer the first question. There are people that say social media helping us to connect, but however, there are some people that say social media is contributing to loneliness. As a lecturer, do you think social media can contribute to help us to connect? What do you think, Doctor?
Thank you for your question, Miss Ain. To answer the question, in my opinion, I do agree that social media help us a lot in keeping us connected. This is because you can basically keep in touch and catch up with your friends and family, even if we far apart from each other. There are many ways to do it through social media. For example, creating a group chat to talk about spontaneous conversation on WhatsApp application, or maybe see updates on family's life on Instagram, Facebook, and so many more online platforms. Social media is commonly used by people around the world for staying connected, and people rely on them not only for that but also for other purposes. Even recorded in the statistic of 2017 that Facebook was the market leader of the social media world with 1.97 billion monthly users, shows that social media is deeply embedded in our daily life. Yes, I agree that it will make it easier for us to connect with the world. However, we cannot rely completely on online platform to keep our social life because we are afraid that people are eventually gonna stop interacting with each other in person. Therefore, social media can be a platform for us to connect, but the usage of social media must be controlled. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shazrina, for your answer that has successfully clarified that using social media is helping us to connect. Well, this is what a forum discussion is for, which is to explain to public what has been found about using social media. Now, I would like to ask the second question to Ms. Nur Sarah Sofia binti Sariman, lecturer of UITM Shah Alam, as the second panel for this forum discussion today. Regarding what has been stated by our first panel, Dr. Shazrina, using social media can help us to connect because by using social media, we can keep in touch and catch up with our friends or family. So, can you explain scientifically how social media can connect us instead of contributing to loneliness?
Alright, Assalamualaikum, and thank you to Ms. Ain Fakihah, our MC for today's forum, and all the other panels as well. Thank you for the question, and to answer it, in my opinion, as we all know, humans are more connected to each other than ever thanks to the human technologies, which are smartphones, development of websites, and most importantly, social media. Research shows that social media use alone can be a tool to build and strengthen our genuine connections with others, which are very important for a happy life. When we utilize the online channels as a stopover on the path trying to improve current relationships and avoiding making new social connections, it improves our lives as well. Channels like Instagram and Facebook can be utilized to meet new individuals who could eventually become actual companions. Similarly, some websites can assist us to locate people who share similar interests and hobbies. Social media is a key to maintain us engaged with long-distance spells and arranging catch-ups. Even me myself are thankful for the existence of social media and video calls so that I can ask my loved ones and my friends about their daily lives anytime without having to meet them face to face. It's more convenient that way. By entering social media, this serves as a replacement for physical connection and influence nearly all relationships now. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Sarah, for your answer. Now, I would like to ask the third question to Dr. 𝒸𝒾𝓀𝒾𝓀𝓐 binti Saifulizan, psychologist in 𝒸𝒾𝓀𝓀𝓐, KL, as the third panel for this forum discussion. As what has been stated by our previous panel, social media is helping us to connect, but everything has its own pros and cons. I believe social media also has its own disadvantages. What is the disadvantages of using social media? Can you explain about that, Doctor?
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First and foremost, thank you Ms. Ain for giving me the opportunity to speak out about social media helping us to connect or contributing to the news. Yes, I agree with both of our panels that social media will help us connect with our family and friends who live far away. Furthermore, social media can contribute to loneliness in our daily lives. Feeling lonely or loneliness is an unpleasant emotional state characterized by inconsistency in one's desired and perceived levels of social connectedness. However, did you know that for some people, social media can become an addiction as a result of loneliness? How do we spot the signs of addiction? Let me tell you about some of them. Firstly, you always wanted to check your social media in the morning. This also applies at the end of the workday or at any other time during the day when you have free time. If your first thought is to reach for your phone, you probably have a strained relationship with technology. Next, you experience anxiety when you are unable to access your social media accounts. You may be familiar with the urgent need to check and refresh your social media pages. If you being away from your phone or without internet makes you anxious, and the prospect of not able to go on social media for a while makes you anxious, you may have a social media addiction. Furthermore, if you're anxious, you may constantly monitor the performance of your posts. It may have an effect on your mood. Social media should be a pleasurable way to communicate with friends, not a mind-numbing task. If how people react to your post affects you emotionally, it's a clear sign that you need to figure out how to separate your sense of self from social media. Finally, you neglect your personal interest in favor of scrolling. Sometimes, instead of engaging in the analog activities we know we enjoy, we spend our time scrolling endlessly. As a result, we do not receive the satisfaction that we would have resulted from devoting that little bit of time to this hobby. When meaningful analog activity take a backseat, it is a sure sign that our social media habits have taken over our lifetime. So, if those social media signs suit you well, you should avoid social media for a while. I have a question for Ms. Ain. As we all know, loneliness is affecting human beings. So, as the human being, have you ever experienced loneliness in your life? Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Dr. Shafiqah. It is natural for us to feel alone or lonely when we are isolated from others. As a human being, our brains adapted to rely on social connections as a means to survive. Put simply, humans don't do well if they are alone. But thankfully, I never experienced this kind of loneliness before. Thanks a lot, Dr. 𝒸𝒾𝓀𝒾𝓀𝓐, for your response and also for the question. It is very nice to know that social media also has its own disadvantages as what has been stated by Dr. just now. Now, I would like to ask the fourth question to Ms. Nur Farhanin Amira binti Muhammad Nazri, Medical Assistant in HUKM, as the fourth panel for this forum discussion. As I mentioned at the beginning of the forum, there's also people that say social media is contributing to loneliness. What is your opinion about that, Miss?
Alright, first of all, I want to thank everybody for having me today, and thank you, Miss Ain, for the question given. So, I do agree to the statement that says social media contribute to loneliness. Loneliness can also be attributed to the internal factors such as low self-esteem. People who lack confidence in themselves often believe that they are unworthy of the attention or regard of other people, which can lead to isolation and chronic loneliness. Usually, this will happen when they frequently viewing curated snapshots of other people's life that might leave social media users feeling as if everyone else has a better life, everyone is smarter, funnier, more interesting, and has more friends. And due to that, they begin to compare their life with others without them realizing that what is being shown on social media is not the same as reality. What I'm trying to say is, not everything that uploaded on social media is showing the truth or showing the real happiness. Yeah, some may show pictures of their happy moments, but in fact, there are tons of hidden secrets behind. They also begin to isolate themselves because they feel themselves so deficient that they are not qualified to associate or have any communication together with other people. As a result, it will create a very wide relationship gap between the social community. For example, the poor befriend the poor, the rich befriend the rich. So, it's very important for us to not put 100% trust on what has been uploaded on social media, because not all people willing to share their sad moment and only show their happy moment that finally make us that this world is only for the good things to happen. Even me, myself, and I chose to show only good moment in my life on social media and kept no good moment to myself alone. I also believe that social media can cause a distraction that finally led us to loneliness circle. When I have my phone out, it makes me feel like nothing else is going on around me. I use social media as a way to feel popular, important, and also just to fit in. My friends and I always compare ourselves to each other, wondering who has more friends on Facebook or more followers on Twitter. But end up, I began to talk less and relying on text for a conversation. Ever since I got a smartphone, I have been distracted from everything. I watch television less, I do homework less, and even spend less time with my friends and family. And it's finally making unhealthy me time for myself. So, social media really contribute to loneliness when people started to feel envy with other people. That's all. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Ms. Nur Farhan and Amira, for your response. It's such a good explanation from you, and we also get to know that loneliness also can attributed to internal factors. Now, we move to the fifth question. I would like to ask Dr. Nur Shazina Nadira once again, our first panel for today. As we already know, when COVID-19 hit our country, face-to-face interaction was very limited. But people need to use social media even more to connect with each other. What do you think is the impact of COVID-19 on social media use? Is it good or bad?
Thank you, Miss Ain. It is a very good question that is actually related to our current situation. As we know, the COVID-19 outbreak has caused the whole world to go through lockdown and been declared pandemic. Back to the question, the impact of COVID-19 on the usage of social media has increased in a good way. Why I say that the impact of social media is good because the pandemic has taken a toll on our mental health, especially for Gen Z. Research has stated that Gen Z are the most concerned about their mental health well-being at 26%. This is because since in-person interactions are very limited during the pandemic, social media really does help in avoiding the feeling of loneliness. From the latest coronavirus research conducted in May across 20 countries, 42% of consumers globally say they are now spending longer on social media because of the outbreak, rising to 54% among Gen Z. People cannot have a social interaction with each other during the pandemic, and it has caused stress because aside from not seeing loved ones, we are also struggling with the MCO that caused many people to lose their job. So, in this phase, we really need the emotional support from people, and social media really helps keep people connected and supported, especially during the COVID-19 outbreak. Not only that, many people that feel lonely or have anxiety during the outbreak can reach out for help in the social media. To conclude, usage of social media due to the impact of COVID-19 is very well utilized and very well used. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shazrina, for your answer. It is great to have known that social media does help avoid the feeling of loneliness, even though the pandemic has limited the in-person interactions. Now, I would like to ask the sixth question to Ms. Sarah Sophia, the second panel for this forum discussion. As we know, there's people out there that prefer communicating via online with each other rather than meeting face to face. In your opinion, why do you think people prefer to communicate via online?
Thank you again, Miss Ain, to give me opportunity to explain more about this issue. As I said just now, social media do helps people to connect with others, but there are some individuals who have self-perceived social incompetence tend to experience negative mood states like loneliness. Several authors invented the phrase problematic internet use to define website or computer obsession or even compulsive internet use. It is described by a person's incapacity to exercise control over their internet usage. However, throughout the last 2 decades, the concept of problematic internet use has evolved. Users would just browse static content to consume information and send text message to escape reality in the early days of internet. The internet has now become a thread that textures the fabric of our lives thanks to the presence of social media sites. We as humans now seek refuge in the media. These people like to communicate online and utilize online social communication as a tool to escape from their bad moods, which reinforces their usage of the internet. If this lifestyle pattern continues, it will eventually become detrimental. Studies have reported that people who excessively use the internet spend less time interacting face-to-face, which will in turn result in depression and loneliness, and other mental states as well. Similarly, people who are lonely often rely on the internet for emotional needs and consolation. Even myself, when I'm having a bad day, I constantly watch random things on YouTube to make me laugh. It does makes me feel better, but I wouldn't do it too often because it is unhealthy for my mental state. So, Miss Ain Fakihah, I have a question for you. Have you ever met someone that faced loneliness? And how do you help them to step up from the loneliness itself? That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Miss Sarah. Yes, I have met someone that faced loneliness before, which is my own cousin. I tried my best to help her to step out from loneliness by giving moral support and also some advice. Other than that, I always check on her to make sure she's always in a good condition. Thank you, Ms. Sarah, for your explanation and also for the question. Regarding what has been stated by Ms. Nur Farhanin Amira before, the social media also can contribute to loneliness. For the next round, I would like to request Dr. Nur Syafiqah Akila to explain, is there any effect of using social media to our mental health?
Okay, thank you again, Ms. Ain. As Dr. Shazrina previously stated, I agree that rather than contributing to an individual's loneliness, social media may have an adverse effect on our mental health if we rely on it excessively. Social media usage has been steadily increasing over the last few years. According to Pew Research Center data, nearly 72% of Americans in the United States use social media, whether they are adults or not. Some researchers discovered that if we use social media on a daily basis, it may have long-term consequences in the future. Social media can cause depression, fear of missing out, and unhealthy coping mechanism. One of the mental health issues that we face when we use social media is that it contributes to depression. For a technology that is supposed to bring people together, it can have the opposite effect, particularly when disagreement erupts online.
Depression, anxiety, and loneliness have all been linked to social media.
It has been potential to make people feel isolated and alone. According to one 2017 study, young people who spend more than 2 hours per day on social media are more likely to rate their mental health as fair or poor when compared to occasional social media usage. Furthermore, social media also makes people fear of missing out. Social media sites like Facebook and Instagram exacerbate the fear that you are missing something or that other people are living a better life than you are. In extreme cases, FOMO can cause you to become tethered to your phone when you are constantly checking for updates or responding to every single alert. Besides, social media may be used as unhealthy coping mechanism with uncomfortable feelings or emotions. For instance, if you are turned to social media when you are feeling down, lonely or bored, you are potentially using it as a way to distract you from unpleasant feelings. Ultimately, social media is a poor way to self-soothe, especially because pursuing social media can often make you feel worse instead of better. My words for you is, if you are spending a significant amount of time on social media and are beginning to notice feelings of sadness, dissatisfaction, frustration, and loneliness that are impacting your life and your relationships, it may be time to evaluate your online habits. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shafiqah, for your answer that has successfully clarified that social media also may have severe effect on our mental health if we too rely on it. Now, I would like to ask the 8th question, which is the last question for our forum discussion today, to Ms. Nur Farhanin Amira, the 4th panel for this forum discussion. How do you think the time people spend on social media determine their loneliness?
Alright, thank you once again, Ms. Ain, for the question given. Do you know whether you engage actively or passively on social network system determines how lonely or connected you feel? Therefore, it might be important to examine further how people act and react in different ways regarding the time they spend on social media in connection with loneliness. In the past several years, more studies have linked social media to poor mental health. According to a recent Forbes article, several studies have not only shown a correlation but also a causation. Findings suggest that people who limit social media to 30 minutes daily feel significantly better than those who use social media for a longer period of time. By reducing time spent, people were able to reduce depression, anxiety, and loneliness. Honestly, I sometimes truly wish that tools such as iPhone, laptop, iPad, tablet had not been invented. Sure, they are great, incredibly useful and fun time killers, but the way people abuse them and turn them into mini social control rooms is frankly awful. The reason why I'm saying this because social media really facilitates laziness. The new socially active era causes laziness because instead of running to your friends, you can text them, or instead of walking upstairs to notify the family dinner, I can FaceTime them. Social networking makes life so convenient that it creates laziness. In my opinion, staying fit is important, but it's difficult to go beyond the newly developed status quo. And this laziness finally creates a situation we call loneliness. People started to distance themselves from other people and lose touch with friends. They're also creating a small gaps and holes in close friendship or relationship. They tend to be alone because they think social media is their friend, and they believe social media won't leave them behind and will always be there for them 24/7. Easy talk. Everything is at the fingertips. We need to limit our screen time on social media. It will help us to socialize with other people better and avoid us from getting influenced with the things we shouldn't in order to be a healthy social media user. So, that's all from me. I hope we can together change our bad habit into a healthier one and create a healthy lifestyle in future. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hanin, for the explanation. So, from this foreign discussion today, what I can conclude is that social media is a really convenient and important communicate network for all the people nowadays to connect with each other. There are many advantages for using social media. However, there are always advantages and disadvantages for a thing. As social media is too convenient for people, most of them don't even have to speak out to communicate with people. No longer, people will lose their communication skills. The more serious problem is use of social media also can contribute to loneliness. So, we have to aware on how we use social media. If we could use the social media smartly, social media will become a good thing for us. Lastly, I would like to thank once again to all the panel members to joining this forum discussion for today. That's all from me as the MC for today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.